What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Omnic Lab, a show focused on the strategies in the game of Overwatch. I'm your host, Andres, aka I Play Games, and today we'll be going all over the new patch, the new meta, what's changing, what's evolving, what's good, and what's not. To do so, I am joined by a returning guest, a Grandmaster support player and champion of Team Canada. How's it going, KarQ?
What's up, Andres? I'm doing good. How are you? I wouldn't say champion. We definitely didn't perform that well during the World Cup this year, but you know what? We'll take the praise. Champions in people's hearts.
Yeah, you're the
Sure.
champion of the people. There you go. Chosen by the Canadians to represent.
Fair, fair.
Yeah. So today we'll be going all over what's changing in the new patch. But before we get into that, I do want to welcome you. Thanks for being in the show. And I want to ask you a few questions. What have you been up to since the last time you were here? I know it's probably over a year ago, last time we had you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks for having me on the collab. It's always been a pleasure to be a guest in the past and to return, of course. And for me, I do the same old, same old. Last year when we spoke, I was actually sponsored, and then the sponsor, it was like, they had like a requirement to make videos on certain days, and like, you have to send them a draft and all that stuff. And I remember last year I was a lot more stressed, having to deal with deadlines. It reminds me of, I guess, school all over again, or I guess even the real corporate world where there's like a deadline. And I've always felt that if you have a deadline in creative work, it kind of sometimes will affect the final product, right? Because you're kind of rushed. It's like, well, we need a draft for this day, and I'm like, well, my creative juices aren't flowing today. And then, though we needed this day, so I just kind of throw out whatever I've got, and like I don't give it as much time. So this year, what I've been up to is I've just been taking it a lot easier. I cut down my upload schedule on YouTube a lot more, focus more on streaming this year because that's a bit easier for me, I'd say. It doesn't require as much creative
Yeah,
computation, but it
pre-planning.
is a yeah, exactly. It is a bit mentally exhausting. Anybody who streams regularly knows it can take a toll on you, especially if you don't enjoy the game. But
Hmm.
so far, I've kind of trekked through. I've been streaming more, and then focused on that. And the Toronto Defiant, picked me up this year as a streamer. So I've just again been focusing on the streaming portion of the whole content creation world. So that's about it.
That's awesome. Talking about Toronto Defiant, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with them and maybe some plans for this year?
Sure. So one of the main reasons why the Defiant picked me up as a streamer is because at the time I still live in Toronto, and I'm nearby. And at the time of me getting picked up, the team was the not the team you know now, consisting of like Agility, Surefour, Kariv, Nevix, so on and so forth. But at the time they picked me up, it was the full Korean roster you were familiar with when they first started off in
Hmm.
February, right? Um, and at the time, they didn't really have too much of a Western kind of audience, right? They're
Yeah, it's
all
been a huge
Korean.
change towards the end, especially from the
Yeah,
beginning. The roster is very different now.
exactly. Like we did pretty well in stage one with that roster, but then like by afterwards, we just didn't perform to people's expectations and to our expectations as a team as well.
Hmm.
And then obviously being a full Korean roster without too much of a Western audience or fan base picked me up. I'm local. It helped with watch parties and any sort of local events they did to kind of promote the team. I'm a kind of a more familiar name with NA and EU, and um,
Absolutely.
so it was a symbiotic relationship with the team, and that's what I did primarily at the beginning. But now obviously the roster has changed a lot. We got a lot of fan favorites on the team from previous teams, Surefour,
Yeah, you get a
Agility.
lot of big names now.
Yeah, like four of us were from Team Canada, right? Mangachu, Surefour, Agilities, and myself. 4 out of the 10. So it helps a lot. And now just with them for now, focusing on streaming. I did a couple of events where I spoke and was there to sign stuff. Did a couple of streaming sessions with some of their sponsors. So it's just a bit of that more so than anything. And hopefully more of that will continue when the season actually starts. It's a bit on the slow side right now because obviously it's the off season and
Yeah,
people are chilling out.
definitely. Now that the Overwatch League is sort of taking a break, sort of
Mm,
like everything around it takes a break as well, right? It's hard to like
oh,
continue
for
pumping
sure.
out content when like there's not that much going on in Overwatch League. But I am excited for the new year to come. I'm curious, how are the watch parties over in Canada? Have you had a chance to do any of the events, or how does it work over there?
Yep, I've been to a few of them. I remember one of them, one specific event called the CNE. So that's called the Canadian National Exhibition, or
Hmm.
we in Toronto we call it the X. It's kind of like a festival where all those little carnival games. You got like like the basketball shooting, or like the throwing the darts and the balloons,
Right,
or
like a
all those little fun
fair.
games. Yeah, it's a big fair. Like, it's massive, but then there's a lot of shows, there's a lot of exhibitions, there's a lot of there's like animals, there's like horse racing, there's a little casino that opens up. This is only for like 3 weeks too, in the middle of the summer. And then they had a session where they're trying to find rented out like this space in the stage area, and there's an Overwatch tournament and other esports tournaments going on in this specific area.
Oh, cool.
And then when I was there, they had me speak and explain what Overwatch was for people walking by. Obviously, a lot of people there play games, but like like I said, the CNE is a big event that almost every Torontonian kind of goes to once a
Right.
year.
Yeah, right. It's
But
not just gonna be gamers, right? It's like all over the place.
exactly, there's gonna be people walking around with their kids around the area as well. So they wanted me to just be nice and loud on the stage and explain what the game was,
How
explain
was
how
that
what
actually?
Overwatch League. That was a little stressful, right? I had to prepare like a PowerPoint presentation and all that kind of stuff. Um, I'm not very good at public speaking. It's actually very different from streaming.
It
Streaming,
is.
you're still in your room, comfortable in your room, and you're like looking at a screen and talking to like people talking in chat. Yes, it's people, but it's completely different than being on stage and seeing people live with their faces and
Right.
all that
And you
stuff.
have the power to cut it off at any time, right? If at any time you don't feel
Exactly.
comfortable, you're just like, shut off stream. I'm out of here. When you're public
Yep.
speaking, you can't shut it off. You're there.
Yeah, exactly. And I had to be careful of how I enunciate, make sure I stay structured with the plan of the presentation. But overall, it went decently, I would say. And then I spoke about it, and then right afterwards, that's when the Toronto Defiant game was happening. So I explained it, and then we all sat down and watched it and cheered together. So that was a really fun and cool event,
Yeah, that
for
sounds
sure.
actually really cool. And you know
Hmm.
that is super common still, even though Overwatch, at least for us who are into the scene, it's such a commonplace thing, right? And in the world of esports, Overwatch is very known because of the league and the steps that they have taken to sort of make that super mainstream. But
Hmm.
for the rest of the world, there's still a lot of explaining that has to go on. I remember last year the Atlanta Rain was just getting purchased and just getting started at the beginning of last year, and
Hmm.
they did this big like summer mixer over in Cox, the company that owns Atlanta Rain.
Sure.
And part of that mixer, they invited everyone from the company, and the CEO was there. A bunch of the owner of the Atlanta Rain was there, and Zoe was there as well from Overwatch League, the caster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and her main role was to explain to the rest of the company what the hell Overwatch was
What? Yeah.
and why Cox had just spent millions of dollars to purchase a franchise for this company. But people were super interested. I think that they mentioned it was like the highest turnout for a summer mixer that they had ever had. And they had
Right.
to expand the room where Zoe was speaking because everybody wanted to like come in and like check out what was happening. So definitely for like the outside world, there's still like a lot of explaining and stuff that needs to be done, but I'm glad to hear that these sort of events are happening all over the place, right? Not just in Atlanta but in Canada as well, and I'm sure that in some of the other cities like Dallas and Philly, where all these events are like starting to like happen and evolve, like it's
Mhm.
generating a buzz everywhere, I feel.
Oh yeah, I definitely feel like most of the franchises, when they have a big company backing it, there is some sort of party or event held to kind of explain to the investors or shareholders what the hell Overwatch is. We did that too. It wasn't even that event. That was actually back in May. I remember because I was there as well. Forgot to mention that one. It was the exact same thing, although it probably wasn't as grand as the Atlanta one. It was more of a business and people kind of event. It was down like
Hmm.
200 people, and I could tell there were a lot of
That
curious
sounds pretty
faces.
large.
Yeah, yeah. And then I was up with the CEO and a couple of four. We were all sitting in the chair on the stage, four of us. There was one pro Call of Duty player. I think there was the CEO of the company that owns the Defiant, or one of the head esports leads. And then we all just kind of like answer some questions about what the game is and what esports is in general. And it's always fascinating to see people, when we take questions, they ask simple stuff that would just like, you know
For
be,
us, it's a
like
given.
for us, it's like, oh, what kind of question is this? But it's like, oh yeah, they just don't know. And then they're like, oh,
Yeah, they've
so
never been a
how
part of
does
it.
streaming work? I'm like, why do people watch streamers? I'm like, do you watch football? Yeah, kind of like that.
Very cool. That's nice that you get to be the ambassador, though. I was gonna ask that too. Does the team bring you along on a lot of the trips or a lot of these events as sort of like the phase of some like the team, basically?
For now, like all the things with the team has been doing, like I just stay in Toronto for the most part. Whenever I
Hmm.
travel, it's actually not with Define. That's usually Blizzard that, sends out invites to a group of content creators, and then I'm usually part of that package right now. So
Nice.
like I got the opportunity to go to like Overwatch Grand Finals under Blizzard's dime and the World Cup, although the World Cup was like more of something that I applied for in May. But I think if I wasn't in World Cup, I know they always do like the community managers are really really good in Overwatch in my opinion, and they take care of the influencers and creators. And I know if it
They
wasn't for
do.
World Cup, I'm sure like we could have sorted something out and planned like a streaming session with Overwatch 2, which I didn't get to try at the time, but I'm sure something could have been set up. But yeah, that's usually part with Blizzard. But yeah, I don't know about next year though. Maybe I get to travel with them to different homestands, maybe not, who knows. But I'm open to whatever.
Awesome. No, that sounds great. And I definitely agree. Blizzard does take care of their content creators. They offer a
Mm,
lot of avenues and opportunities for you to be involved with the content more so than some of the other companies out there. So we do gotta give them props for that.
mhm.
Um that being said you're still doing your YouTube channel and your videos, right? Because
Yep.
if you guys are not familiar with KarQ, I definitely recommend you guys check out his YouTube channel. He has some gold mines of videos in there. A lot of them are super entertaining. You might know him for videos as one ultimate trick per hero in the game, or one thing to avoid per hero in the game. A lot of your videos are really cool and very informative in a very condensed form factor, so they're really easy to like digest the information.
Yeah, thanks, Andres. Yeah, just tips for every hero. I feel like I may or may not have pioneered that. I do. I see a lot of kind of duplicates of that,
I
but I'm
think
never
people
upset or
have copied
anything.
your style, yeah.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
hey,
I'm not upset when people do it because they say
they
like, what is that? What is that? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery or whatever, something like that.
exactly. I was just gonna say that. Yeah, if people are copying you, you're doing it right.
Yeah, so it's all good. But yeah, thank you.
So are you still doing some of those videos, or are you taking a little break on those?
I started pumping out content again in December. Like this month, I've been trying to do weekly videos again. I'm trying to reboot some of the old tip videos. People are like, you need to update this. It's so old because there's like five new heroes that came out, and a lot of other heroes got changed, and the playstyles are adjusted. And I'm like, that's true. So I
It's
rebooted a
true.
few of them, which I don't know if you've seen or not. For example, I redid a Doomfist one. My first Doomfist tip video I made 2 years ago with Effect from the Dallas Fuel, who's now retired, and then I redid it this like couple weeks ago with Chipsa, and then this was
Oh,
just
I
before he
think I
got
did
signed.
see. I haven't watched the video, but I saw it come up in my feed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's just been getting new guests, fresh faces who are like part of the scene still, and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
it's
some really cool stuff. I definitely recommend you guys checking it out. All right. The time has come, though. Let's talk
right
about all these new changes, the new patch, the new things that are sort of cropping up.
for sure.
Um, let's start with the easy stuff. Let's start with some of the new features that we've seen. One of my favorite new features, especially the while you wait queue.
Oh yeah.
What do you think of while you wait? Because I personally have been loving it.
Um, I think for a lot of streamers, myself included, we never really minded the longer queue times because I don't know if you've seen other streamers, but they started watching TV shows in between. Some people watch like Gordon Ramsay Kitchen Nightmares in between or random YouTube videos. That's what I was doing. But
Hmm.
so I never really minded, but with the while you wait, it does keep your mechanics fresh. So I did stop watching videos. Now I just play deathmatch or a couple of the fun custom games in between. What have you been playing,
I feel
Andres?
like deathmatch's popularity since the while you wait thing came out and before has just like rose like 500% or something like
Oh, for sure.
that. It definitely is such a great mode to kind of like fit in between your games. Like you said, it
Mhm.
keeps your kind of like mechanics warmed up. It gives you something to do. I personally feel like they were probably losing some people just from the wait times, from people just sitting there and being like, you know what, this is taking too long. I'm just gonna go do
Yep.
something else. Because for streamers, I think that you're right. It's not the biggest deal because it gives you some time to interact with your audience, kind of chat with
Yeah.
them, do something a little bit fun. It gives you some downtime too, so you can kind of like do whatever else you need to do. As a streamer, you have so much stuff going on at the same time that you have to kind of handle that just playing the game sometimes is not super feasible, right? You need like those breaks in between. But for your average person that has nothing else to do in between the queue times, I think that it was kind of bothersome.
Yeah, agreed. So for not everybody has the luxury of being a streamer, an audience to speak to in between queues. So yeah, I think the while you wait has been fun. Have you been playing any of the fun custom games that people have been
I've
messing around with?
tried, yeah, I've tried a few, but Deathmatch has been like the
Yeah.
most popular one that I've played.
Hmm.
I've been really enjoying it mostly because I've been three stacking with a couple of friends.
Hmm.
And they're both really good. They're both like grandmaster, like high master players, much
Yep.
better than I am. But it's super fun playing against them in
Oh
deathmatch,
yeah,
and it definitely like takes it to the next level, and it builds like some camaraderie and some competitiveness in between
for
like
sure.
your group of friends, right? Like before, you never really got to verse your friends that much. You would just sit in the
Mm.
queue, then go into the game. But now you kind of get to play against them in between games. You
Yep.
get to like keep each other in check. I've actually learned a lot just from dueling them. One of them is like a fantastic Ana player. He just
Hmm.
never misses a sleep dart, and it sort of kind of makes you have to like think about that, right?
Think
Like
about it, right? Like how can I
now
bait it out, or
yeah,
where
the
can I play
way I need to
behind to get
approach
around
this
it?
guy has to be completely
Mm.
different because he's not like the other Annas I go against that I can just kind of like blindly just go into them. Like I have to be super creative against this guy. So I think it's even elevated my skills in between games.
Yep, it makes you think, just process a bit more information because like maybe you just get too used to Annas at your rank that like don't punish you for doing certain things, and now that you're
Exactly.
starting to get punished even in deathmatch, whenever you do the 1v1 matchup, then it elevates you to like play at a higher level. So if you ever climb and make it to that, you're already prepared for it, and you won't get that oh, I made it to this rank, but I don't know what's wrong now. I'm dropping 300 SR. It's like
Yeah, there you go.
they're not
And you're
ready,
playing
but
against
now
your
you
friends
are.
too, which I think is cool. And it's not just
Hmm.
playing as your friends, but like you get to kind of like duel them for a little bit and then you all get to play together as a team against somebody else. So I feel
Hmm.
like you help each other hone your skills and move on. And that does require having somebody else to play with. But I feel like most people have at least a partner that they can kind of like do this with.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
What about you? You've been playing mostly deathmatch. Any of the fun game modes?
Yeah, I tried deathmatch, and I think a lot of streamers are playing something called Tiny Overwatch, where they like lock you in a small room and you have your ultimate available, and it's mystery heroes. So you
Oh
just
my
spawn and
god.
then cast your ultimate, or you just like dump all your cooldowns and you just die and just do it again. And there's like no respawn time. It's just hectic abilities flying everywhere, kind of Overwatch. And
That's
a lot of people are
hilarious.
playing that. Yeah, I tried
I
it a
need to
little
try
bit. You
that
could
out.
try it too. Yeah, it's called Tiny Overwatch. It's a growing popular game mode right now, for
Nice.
sure.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. That sounds similar to like Aim Arena. Have you played the Aim Arena
Yeah.
one in
Yep.
Havana?
I played. Yeah, that one's like way bigger. When we talking, it's called Tiny Overwatch, and I mean it. It's like a really small square with 12 people. You just have all your cooldowns available. It's like nobody, you spawn as Junkrat, you throw a Riptire. Oh, you died. Oh, now you're back as Doomfist. Oh, just punch, no cooldown. Throw your ultimate, cast Meteor Strike. It's just
That sounds
it's just
hilarious.
wild and hectic. So it's a little refreshing if you want that kind of change for
Yeah.
sure.
Honestly, those game modes for like short periods of time can be really fun.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. I wouldn't play this for like 3 hours straight, but for like 5, 10 minutes at a time, it's like, oh, let's just, you know, use all our cooldowns and just mess around for a bit. It's quite
Totally.
nice.
The Aim Arena is surprisingly effective at like warming up
Mm.
your mechanics too. Just
Yep.
because there's
Yep.
no downtime, like you're just like going at it right away. And
Hmm.
since the moment you spawn, people are shooting at you, so you have to like really be on your game to even just like get a kill.
Yeah.
And then trying to like change the kills after that. I think I played like 40 minutes of that with Genji one time. I
Hmm.
feel like I almost developed carpal tunnel because my right hand didn't stop like clicking on the mouse for like the whole 40 minutes.
Yep. So yeah, for the listeners who haven't tried it, Aim Arena is the first one you can try to help, and then the second one is again Tiny Overwatch. Just search those two up, and those are good custom games to play while in queue.
Yeah, those are really nice to wait in between. So yeah, definitely enjoying the while you wait. Um, moving on though, in
hmm
this patch, we also have a limited map pool. What do you think of this in competitive? Have you been liking it? Have you noticed it?
Oh, for sure, I've definitely noticed it since I've been playing, 5 to 6 hours a day. I kind of have to, obviously, as a streamer, to play the game a lot.
Right.
And the map pool, after about a month so far, I kind of miss the other maps. Not gonna lie. At first, I loved it. I'm like, yeah, but like you'll only love it if all the maps in the pool are the ones that you like. And obviously,
Right.
there's always gonna be maps that you may or may not like as much. So limiting it actually helps quite a bit because you start developing like more strategies because you're playing it a lot more regularly, like certain angles. And personally, I'm a fan. But at the same time, I miss like right now Elios. I miss
Mm.
Rialto. I miss Dorado a little bit. It's been a while since I've seen them, but I certainly don't miss Junkertown, Horizon, or Paris by any stretch. And I know those might be coming back next round. But I'm hoping.
I thought Horizon's is in the map pool though.
No, it's not. No.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking about quick play.
Yeah. Quick play. There's no pool. You just play.
Right.
It's everything, right? And since I exclusively only play ranked, I've only been seeing 12 maps like for the last month and a half. And I would say I definitely miss some of the other ones, and I don't miss the other ones. So I'm hoping they keep a few of the fan favorites, or maybe like if for some reason Blizzard can vote for like one in each mode to keep throughout every season. Like
Like the
okay,
community
hybrid,
can like vote together and be like, keep these
keep
for the
one and then
next.
rotate. Yeah, because if it's 12, isn't it three per mode or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So then you just keep one in each that everybody like enjoys. So maybe like you keep King's Row for the hybrid, and then for escort, I don't know, keep like Route 66 or something.
Hmm.
You keep one and cycle out the other two every season and see if
Yeah, that
that
could
works
be an
better.
interesting approach. I do
Yeah.
agree with you that it makes it a lot easier to practice altogether, especially if you're playing a lot. The limited map pool allows you to explore the maps a lot more, really kind of like honing in certain meta elements, practice that hero you've been playing.
hmm
And you don't have to think about that much. I think it's especially useful for new players. My girlfriend, who's been starting to play Overwatch, or I say started to play, she's been playing for like 8 months now.
Right.
But she's not like super hardcore, right? She'll pick up the game maybe once a week, maybe twice at the most. And it's really daunting for her. Like the maps, knowing the maps are such a huge part of playing in this game and being good
hmm
at this game. And when you don't have that map knowledge, you're really, it's like playing blind most of the time
Exactly.
because you
Yeah.
don't know where people are gonna come and flank you or like where you can flank people. Like your options for playing the game greatly diminished by not knowing this map. So for people like her, I think is like super valuable that she only has to focus now on like these 12 maps, right? She doesn't
Yeah.
have to focus on the entire map pool. So that's a huge change, I think, especially for new players. Yeah, and like you said, you don't have to deal with some of the maps that you might not like, but I feel that's gonna change every season, right? You're like you said, you're gonna have maps
Exactly.
that are good, others that are bad.
Exactly. Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's talk about one of the biggest changes in the patch so far. Barriers. And I think this is what a
Mm.
lot of people were expecting from this patch, right? Like the big hit to barriers.
hmm
People were upset having to shoot at them for too much. The game
hmm
felt rather slow and sluggish. I feel like since the change, the game definitely feels like a faster pace. You can't just hold a position forever and ever and ever. There's
Yep.
some give and take that has been going on now. How have you been experiencing the change, and what are your thoughts about it?
I think when the patch first hit, everyone's like, "Yeah, Shield Overwatch is dead." And then like about a week later, we're going back to Orisa Sigma. There's still the meta picks, even though the shields are a lot less, what's that word? Oppressive. It's a lot less oppressive. It's still kind
Right.
of annoying because like as soon as you break the shield, you gotta deal with Orisa using Fortify or going gold, or you deal with Sigma using his kinetic
Kinetic.
grasp, his suction ability, and then by the
Hmm.
time they cycle those two abilities, the shields are back up. So, um, it's still I don't know. It's still quite. It's not as bad, but it's still a lot of shields, and those are still the two meta heroes. Like we've experimented with Like people are trying to play a bit more Rein Zarya. I've seen a lot more Ball though, but like I'm not a fan of dealing with Ball as a support player. That's just my personal bias. The dive is still kind of dead. I don't think Winston and Diva are very good. Um, I think Ball is really strong in ranked, but I don't expect to see him too much in the Overwatch League. I still think it's going to be Orisa Sigma or Orisa Reinhardt on very specific maps. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's just a lot more shields to deal with. But, the nerf to Moira, I guess, kind of helped in that capacity where there's less like fast healing, but then that gave the rise to Baptiste, who's also like can heal a lot and he gives a lot more utility in the damage and the immortality field department. And he's been destroying the ranked ladder. He's like he needs tuning, in my opinion. Whenever anything gets nerfed, something else comes up, and like sometimes it's not bad, but there's cases where it's like ridiculous. And they
To be
buffed
to be
Baptiste
fair, they did
before the
buff him.
patch,
Yeah, right before the patch.
hit. And then as soon as like if they just kept him the way he was, maybe I still think he would be meta. Don't get me wrong, but like I guess not as bad because right now his DPS is ridiculous.
Right now, he
Um,
is quite good. Yes.
yeah, and since I'm a support man, I've been playing him a lot, and I can tell you right now, like this is ridiculous what I'm able to do sometimes when the
I'm a
shield goes
DPS
down.
main, and I've been going on Baptiste and playing as a DPS with great
Yeah,
success.
yeah. It's I don't know, like I'm able to if I have my ultimate. Just by the way, for Baptiste players, I'm telling you, if you use your ultimate for yourself, like 80% of the time, it's actually much more valuable than trying to rely on your teammates to make use of it. Unless maybe like a Reaper is about to ult, then yeah, you can throw your Ant Matrix somewhere in the middle where he's about to ult in the enemy lines. But for the most part, if you use it for yourself, you just DPS yourself, and you just do so much damage.
You will
You get like
melt
three,
tanks
yeah, you
just by
melt.
yourself.
You confirm kills, you melt people, you take duels. If you get challenged, immortality field. If immortality field goes down, you do regenerative burst. Oh no, he can do it all right now.
Yeah,
And
he's quite good. And
yeah,
we'll get a little bit more into Baptiste because I do want to like deep dive a little bit more on him
sure,
because
sure.
he is meta defining right now. Coming back to barriers just for a sec,
Hmm.
I do agree with you. We've sort of like exchanged some cooldowns for other cooldowns. Like in the last patch, we were relying on the barriers to sort of like hold the positions. And Blizzard was like, okay, we're gonna nerf barriers, but I think in the back of their heads, they were really scared that if they nerf the barriers, a lot of these tanks would just outright become sort of useless or a little bit too easy to focus. And I think that in anticipation for that, they were like, well, if we're gonna take away the barriers, let's buff the other side of their kit, right? The
Yeah,
fortify, the
not
kinetic grasp.
necessary. Yeah,
And I think you're right. I think that we've sort of exchanged like one wall for the other wall, where it's rather than hitting barriers, we're now hitting an immortal or Rissa during fortify and a Sigma that just swallows all of your damage through
yep.
kinetic grasp. And you cannot keep can rotating for those. So those two heroes or those two tanks are still really, really meta. And you get to see them a lot if you're going into the ladder right now. I think you're
Hmm.
right. Some people are trying to experiment and bring out the Ryan Zarya. I think Ryan is in a decent spot. I don't. Zarya doesn't seem like that effective to me. I mean,
Hmm.
you can get away with her, but yeah, Sigma, Orisa definitely seem to be kings in the barriers here. Um, I
Agreed.
wonder. I wonder if not having the fortify and the kinetic grasp would really bring those heroes down so much that Blizzard would be like, no, this is impossible.
I mean, I think, yeah, I don't think they needed to necessarily make those initial adjustments to kinetic grasp and fortify, like you said. They could have adjusted different parts, but not the, I guess, tanky parts of the aspect. Um, for example, you could have changed like maybe some of the damage numbers or something with the Orisa pull rather than buffing fortify. I still think Orisa pull is a bit ridiculous too. Like she still would have been fine even if they just nerfed the barrier and didn't touch anything else. Because she
Hmm.
was already played quite a bit even before roll Q or roll lock because people used to run Orisa all the time with like bunker comps and all that kind of stuff. She wasn't even bad to begin with. Don't get like and all those buffs and all those changes to other heroes would naturally bring them up to speed. So yeah, it's I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss here. It's not as bad again these shields, but yeah, when you nerf one thing, you can't compensate for the other thing, especially like right away at least without like assessing it a bit more.
Right. I think also one of the side effects of the barriers. Um, Doomfist, for example, is still quite powerful. I think that Reaper is
Hmm.
still quite powerful, but I
Yep.
think that this nerf to the barriers has actually given rise to another hero, Mei, that I think was popular in previous metas, but I think that right now she feels really, really good, specifically because she sort of fills in the gap that we had before. I think that her Mei wall is incredibly amazing at like preventing damage, closing in people, sort of like trapping in teams, dividing them. And right now,
Yep.
with the barriers being even like less useful, like her main wall, it's almost like a third barrier that you can be using all of the time.
Yeah.
And I've actually been almost exclusively playing May for the past week or so. And it's been insane because I'm not even a May player, but I've had incredible success. I think I'm sitting at like an 80% win ratio with her out of a pool
Mhm.
of like 35 games or something like that. So it's a pretty decent like sample size and having super good success. Granted, I'm playing at like mid diamond, so it's not like um, the highest rank there is, but I think that she brings a ton to the table that some of the other DPS currently cannot bring, especially when your tanks can't stay in that position for that long, right? Like Mei is sort of like that hero that can push him off and be like, this is my territory now, and allow your tanks, your Sigmas, your Orissas, and their reduced kind of shields to kind of like push forward thanks to her wall. What do you think of her?
I always thought May was already rising in popularity. Yeah, Doomfist, Reaper were the, I guess, the top two choices, but May was like a solid third option if like
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't play either of those heroes in ranked. And now again with those nerf to shields, like you said, wall can be used as like a third shield if you need time to space out your tank cooldowns if they spammed it down really fast. And then the utility of walling off enemies to cut them off, and then you push forward and capitalize on it. Super powerful. You can freeze through kinetic grasp. Yeah, but I guess she's more popular now because back then when the shields were higher and you just like kept spamming icicles, it wouldn't do much to the shields. But with the
Mm-hmm.
shields actually breaking, you can get solid icicles off, and it's easy to move in and get those freezes off and do a lot. So yeah, I'd say May is ridiculous, and she also kind of gatekeeps other tanks from being played too. Like with Arista Sigma being the best against everything else, you kind of have to tolerate the May. But then even if you ran Ryan Zarya, May was always solid for separating ground-based tanks no matter what. So
Oh,
Ryan
she's
Zarya would always
amazing
have
for cutting off the Reinhardt from the rest of her team. Yeah.
exactly, right? So ground-based compositions where you don't have any verticality, like, Ball, Diva, Winston, May can already separate if you know how to wall correctly. And that's not
Hmm.
even to say like the dive heroes kind of suck against May too, right? You can't even fully kill her because she has the ice block to keep herself immune, and then she can freeze through Diva Matrix. If Winston jumps in, he can't leap out for another 6 seconds. You just freeze him. Ball
Hmm.
gets frozen. Ball is countered hard by May as well. So
Right.
it's
You
like,
can really mess with Wall just blocking his path or freezing him outright so he can't roll out. I've cut a few balls out when they
yeah,
were least
exactly.
expecting it.
So I think in the past, May wasn't played as much because healing wasn't as powerful as it was before. Like before Baptiste and Mora and everything became meta and healing was a lot less. Like May wasn't played because people argued that she didn't do enough DPS. Like she couldn't burst fast enough. And then now, like with healing buffed, like even if you play McCree or anything traditionally with high damage, like you still can't kill. It takes a long time to kill stuff, even with immortality field and all this kind of stuff that's in the game now. So now that utility of May naturally makes her a lot more valuable because especially against like immortality field. Like I've seen when you put your wall up, it like stops the immortality field from being used correctly. And now
Yeah,
Baptiste is in the meta.
if you cut the line of sight of the immortality field, it won't work. So if you do it at the right angle, you can
Hmm.
kill like a tank or somebody who's in immortality, even
Yep.
even if they're still in it, as long as there's no line of sight,
Yeah,
you're good
or
to
you
go.
freeze it outright. If you put the wall in, like if you put the wall up and the immortality field is touching the wall, you can actually see the immortality field will look frozen and it will be inactive
Wait,
until
with
that
a
block
wall?
of the wall. Yes.
So
So yeah,
oh, this is I'm
it's like
definitely
that with
gonna start
Torb turret
using
too.
this.
It's like this with Torb turret too. If you put your May wall like touching a Torb turret, it like freezes the turret and it'll also freeze the immortality field. So I remember I was like 1v1ing a May once and like she was getting low but she was about to freeze me, so I put my immortality field up behind her. So then she like wouldn't be able to kill me unless she turned around, destroyed the immortality field, and then like killed me. But all she did was turn around, walled close by her, so the wall touched the immortality field, and that like made it inactive. It disabled it, and then turned around and then
Oh.
headshot me. It
I
was
thought
actually
you
what
I
a
thought you had to like block the line of sight, but like
Nope,
this
not
makes it
just
even
line of
easier.
sight. Yep, you just gotta make contact with it. So it's very forgiving. You can just block the line of sight, sure, but like if you try to like disable it with the wall and you nail it, sure. And then if you kind of miss, but you're like at least blocking line of sight, that's also good enough too. So
Yeah,
I
no,
think
that's
disabling it
quite
outright's
amazing.
better though, for sure, because then you block both sides. Because like if you wall somebody off, people on the opposite side will still be protected.
You're
So
right, right, right.
something to
Um,
consider for sure.
and you said it yourself. I think that there's a lot of DPS out there right now whose damage is much more reliable than Mei, right? Like if you're looking at McCree or Widowmaker or even Reaper, right? Like they get more damage in that Mei does, but they can't do one thing that she does, and is she can always play for the point. She's like the one DPS that can be right next to your tanks, pushing their tanks away. Sometimes your tanks don't even have to be playing on point. That your mate could be playing on point by herself and be
Mm-hmm.
okay. You can get away with running like ball and Sigma. I've gotten away with running like such weird front lines just because
Yeah.
I have Mei, and I'm able to push the payload while still providing a very decent damage output. I'm not saying that Mei doesn't deal good damage. It's just not as reliable as a McCree, for example, that can just, headshot, 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 headshot. And as long as you have aim or good aim, you're going to be hitting all your shots. But like you said, he's just not that effective because there's still kinetic grasp, fortify, barriers, May wall, you can throw it in there. And the difference is
Yeah.
McCree just can't go and stand right next to the payload while still doing all of these things. But May can. And her range is decent enough. Her
There's no fall
icicles,
off damage
there's no fall off
for icicle.
damage. So you can still contest at a range, I feel. Obviously, you're not going to be as good as range as Widowmaker, but the fact that you can duel her while you're standing on the point and she can't, I think that it sort of makes up for it too.
Yeah, and all that utility comes to play when McCree's stuck shooting barriers and all that stuff. And if May has the same problem at distance, you can't really icicle the barriers down fast enough. But then she provides everything else that McCree doesn't. If McCree can't shoot stuff, it's like okay, now what? But if May can't shoot stuff, she can still wall. She can still ice block to stall. If they get close, she can multi freeze people. There's a lot more utility. She's like a pseudo tank, right? 250 health,
Yes.
wall, ice block. She's kind of like that extra tank in some capacity, right? With all the other stuff she provides. So I
I
do think
think,
May also needs a bit of tuning as well because everything else
yeah.
got nerfed. For
If
sure.
you were to tune something for May, what would you do to her?
Get rid of multi freeze. You can add fall off damage again or lower the ice wall damage. I think ice block is a pretty cool ability that's kind of unique to her. I'm okay with ice block. Yeah, it's kind of annoying, but I don't really have a problem with that. I think her wall, maybe some sort of indication when it's going to break. People tend to panic when a wall comes up and they're not sure which one to shoot. Like, I'm sure if you had some indication that a certain block of the wall was breaking and starting to crack, then people who are focusing the wrong block would be like, oh, my team is shooting at this one. Let me shoot this one. Because sometimes when a wall comes up, I'll be like, okay, everybody shoot the leftmost one, but then somebody's shooting the one in the middle. And they don't know which one my other teammates are shooting. So if there's some indication or the color changing or an animation being like, this one's starting to break, everyone would be like, okay, let's focus this block here.
What do you think of making the wall more breakable, like reducing some of the
The
health
health.
per pillar?
That too. That too. Because I feel like if you're walling somebody off for about 1 or 2 seconds, it already does the job. And like right now, she's being able to wall people off for like 5 or 6 seconds because nobody's
Hmm.
breaking it. Like if you're able to separate someone for 2 seconds, it's already a powerful enough ability. So lowering the health of it so it's breakable, and
And I
will
think
be will
that
be a good nerf too.
at higher ranks, breaking the wall is a little bit more reliable. And even you said it yourself, even at higher ranks, it still takes some time and people are not breaking
Yeah,
it as reliably.
exactly,
Now imagining at lower ranks, I feel like at lower
exactly.
ranks, May puts down the wall and most people
It's
just think
over.
like, oh, it's the wall is there. I can't do anything about it. I gotta wait for it to like come down. They're not even like trying to shoot it, right?
Yep.
So it makes it even more powerful. And don't get me wrong, wall is a very cool ability. I think that you can use it very creatively, and I wouldn't like it to be changed or replaced by something else. I think that it brings a
For
lot of
sure.
flavor to that character.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but I do think that maybe it shouldn't be used as a shield, right? It shouldn't be like a third barrier that you could use. It's cool to like block off like single heroes, like a Hammond trying to escape through like a choke point or something. Put that wall up. Now he can't really go through there, right? But I think being able to wall off like a whole entire team for that long, it's a little bit too powerful.
Yeah,
The
agreed.
Reinhardt
Just
just like stepping out of position and you pulling a wall behind him and he's dead kind of thing. I think that there should be more leniency for the team to counterplay that, right?
agreed. Because right now, currently, May wall is like 400 per pillar or per block, and there's 5 of them. I think
Mm-hmm.
lowering it to 4 and then like making it 200 HP each pillar would be a decent nerf. It doesn't ruin
Yeah,
the identity of wall because you still have that utility. If you block someone off for a little bit and your team is quick to punish it, you still. I think at higher ranks would be a lot more reasonable. I think 200 HP will help the lower rank people deal with it as well, and like having less blocks as well, less choices, and then like sometimes when you break one block, certain characters can't even fit through it, depending on
yeah,
what angle it is.
yeah.
You
So
can't
that's
see as well through
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Even if you
So
break one, it's sometimes not enough, right? Like you can get
yeah,
so damaged through, but or maybe some healing. Your Baptiste might be able to throw in the immortality and save like
yeah.
the person. But yeah, I think that one hero should be able to reliably break one pillar of the wall, at least with like their entire clip, right?
Hmm. Agreed. And get rid of fixing the wall in that capacity and getting rid of multi freeze might be what she needs. And then I think you can keep the damage on the icicle. The
Really,
multi
what
freeze
do you say
effect.
multi-freeze? Do you think it's too powerful when people are like clumped up?
I think that's why dive can't be played against Mei at all. Because if Diva and Winston jumping together, you can just freeze both of them together, and it's like wow.
Mm.
And I think a lot of the higher rank players agree, and they say multi freeze is really annoying because you can't play any brawling or close range kind of fights against her because she could just freeze
Yeah, he
stun
is.
multiple enemies
She's
upon
just a
getting
huge
close.
liability to get close to, yeah, like clumped up like that, which is another one of the reasons why I think she's so powerful right now. It's if your Orisa and your Sigma just try to like outright contest the point and a Mei is there with their Orisa and their Sigma, I mean, guess who's gonna win that frontline battle?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just
So yeah, guys, I'm telling you, if you guys are looking for a DPS this season, really check
May.
out Mei. I know that
Yeah.
there's like some kind of like preconceptions about May. Some people don't like playing the character. Some people associate her to being like the spawn of the devil, etc. But she can be quite fun to play, especially once you get the hang of it. And right now, you will outright just win matches just with your presence. If you're playing her the right style and in the right position, it makes your front line so incredibly powerful. That I've won almost every game that I play with May, and the ones that I haven't won, I have tied, and I think that I've only lost like one or two games with her. She's super powerful right now, and makes
Yep.
up for like that lack of barriers that we were seeing.
Even I'm playing her. Like I don't even play DPS, but I did my DPS placements. You have to play 25 games to get on the combined leaderboard in DPS, and I have like an 80% win rate with May as well. And I don't even really play her. She's
Yeah,
very easy to get value with.
very
So
easy to get value right now. It's true. Not to say that there's no skill involved in May. I think that
exactly.
placing the wall, having good timing with her is super important. Knowing when to ice block. I
Yeah.
I got punished a lot in the beginning playing May because I was too greedy with my ice block, trying to save it for the last minute kind of thing.
Yep.
Um, but then you end up getting killed, and that's a no. Um, let's move on to some of the other heroes. Let's move on to your area of expertise. Let's talk a little
Sure.
bit about the supports.
Mhm.
What do you think the supports are looking like in this patch? We mentioned Baptiste, and we can start with him if you want.
Yeah. So just like I said before with Baptiste, the buff to his DPS, his fire rate, ridiculous. He can help spam shields. He builds his ultimate super fast with a clumped AoE healing. Immortality field is ridiculous if you use it at the right spot. So he does a bit of everything right now. And especially like people would argue that the worst comp to play Baptiste with is dive, right? If Wrecking Ball's in the back line, and so is like Winston or something, I can't really heal my tanks anymore. But luckily, nobody's really playing dive. Everyone's still playing slow, Orisa, Sigma, Rhines. So everyone's clumped up. I just get value, big value healing, build my ultimate faster, and it's just he does it all. And you usually pair that up right now with Zenyatta if you're running slow comps. If for some reason the enemy is running like dive, like ball or something, and the Zen is dying a lot, like Doomfist and ball or something on the enemy team. Instead of pairing Bap Zen, some people will switch the Zen for. I've seen Lucio's, I've seen Anna's, and I've seen some Mercies and some Briggs. So those are pretty much the choices I would say right now. Baptiste plus someone else. But Bap is the core. Kind of like how it was Moira and something else all of last patch.
Right.
Now it's going to be Bap and plus another support.
Baptiste does feel super strong. Not only is he bringing a ton of damage into the battle, like you said, he brings super reliable healing. And again, with the barriers being kind of like less prominent, his immortality field kind of like provides that extra level of resistance or like staying power, right? Your tanks can actually like commit to a push without feeling like they're about to get deleted right away by everything else. Especially if you combine BAP and Mei, now you have a ton of staying power. Now you can really stand on the payload no matter what. You got immortality, you got ice barrier, you got kinetic grasp, and you have Orisa's thing. Why am I blanking out right now? Fortify. Thank you. So yeah, you get like the whole deal of like those are your abilities right there to contest any objective right now in this meta. Baptiste, Mei, Orisa, and Sigma, you're good to go. Everything else is just sort of like extra damage. I think that's why you've been able to get away with running Zenyatta or like Hanzo tends to be quite good too. Because you just need a bunch of damage to sort of like keep up the pressure, break their barriers, and sort of not allow them to get close to you at that point. Zen, it's a glad surprise, actually. I was not expecting him to sort of like crop up, but now that you can get damage through like the Discord orb plus like his own firepower, it's actually like super effective. And his ultimate counters it still counters like most dive.
It can somewhat counter Sigma's ultimate too.
You can also do it for that. Yeah, if they don't finish him off right before they fall, you'll top him off real quick.
Yep.
Have you played much Zen or mostly just Baptiste?
I have. I only play Zen if I don't run Doomfist because Doomfist was like 100% meta last patch, and like Doomfist just farms Zenyatta's like crazy. Like Moira will just if you tried to run Zen with Moira last patch, Doomfist would just eat you up, right? And now if you play Zen with Baptiste, Bap can somewhat protect you if he gets a good immortality down. And now that Doom has played a little less, like he's a lot easier to play, and now the shields kind of do break a bit faster. You can actually sneak a Discord in, which makes that easier too. And that's one of the main reasons why Zen was starting to be played again. You don't really need the Lucio as much because it's less Reaper. It's more Mei Hanzo than Reaper Doom. Because back then when you ran the Moira Lucio, obviously the speed to get the Reaper in, all that kind of stuff would be super powerful. But now just Zenyatta replaced the Zenyatta replaced the Lucio, sorry, because for those reasons.
Absolutely. And I like that you mentioned that a lot of people are running BAP and then sort of like pick your poison, right? Like everything else is sort of like fair game at this moment. And I think that the support roster has been in a very good spot for a long time now. You actually get to pick a lot of different things. Last time we had a lot of Moira, mainly because of the super brawly sort of composition that we had. But now really you can pick a lot of different things. I think that Mercy still goes quite well with a lot of compositions, especially if you're bringing in a Pharah, which I think Pharah is still a decent pick, especially if you have the Mercy. You can still do quite a bit with her.
Yeah, I still see a bit of Pharah for sure.
And Brig, I think, is an interesting choice. I think that Brig is a little bit underutilized right now, and I want to get your opinion on this, but especially when the front line is needing some help and there's a lot of rampant Meis out there. I think that Brig can bring a lot to the table and sort of like keeping that under check and not letting the Mei just kind of like run out crazy all over the place.
Well, my opinion of Brig is that she's situational, and I actually don't necessarily switch to her or flex to her when it's a Mei being a problem. I'll switch the Zen to a Brig, like Bap Brig or something,
Hmm.
when they run the random dive hero. Like if they're running Doomfist and I'm Zen and my Bap isn't protecting me and I'm dying every time, I'm just gonna just not play Zen. I'll just play Brig so I can survive against Doom. Or if they play Ball, which I do see a lot of Ball
There's
actually
a
in
lot
high
of ball
ranks.
going
He's
on.
the third. He's almost the third most picked other than Reinhardt. So if I see a lot of Ball and the Ball is doing very well, creating space and dominating the backline, I'll switch to Brig for those reasons, not so much for Mei. And I'll do it on very specific maps that are very tight and close quarters. For example, Temple of Anubis second. If we're attacking, and like I feel like every time I'm on Zen, like the Ball or the Doom just hides up top and just assassinates somebody in the backline, whether it's me as Zen or one of my DPSs, then I'll switch to Brig to help deal with that. So less for Mei, more for those reasons instead. And I don't think it's a bad thing in Overwatch where you make switches relative to what the enemy team is running. Isn't that part
Right.
of like hero switching? You try to counter and all that stuff. When
I
something
mean,
is meta
ideally,
and you're
that's how we were
best
playing
no
the
matter
game.
what. Exactly, right? If something is meta no matter what, then that's when we have a problem. But if you're making switches based on the map or because of certain hero picks and making those switches, I feel like that's fine. And I feel like that's what Mercy, Lucio, and Brig do at this current moment. They're good against certain heroes and good with certain heroes and on certain maps. But right now, I think the problem would be BAP. There's flexibility in that second slot, but BAP is so good in 80% of the situations. Only situation I can think Baptiste is not good is if you run Winston Diva or like Winston Ball and you can't
Right.
handle
I was gonna
tanks.
say, like, once you start running dive, like BAP really goes downhill really, really
Yeah,
quick.
exactly.
Like even though you're still bringing damage, like your immortality field is not nearly as reliable, and trying to keep like a ball or like a Winston Diva healed is actually quite challenging. Or trying to heal a Genji with Baptiste is almost like impossible, especially if the Genji is like playing the right way and being super elusive. Um, that being said, like you said, dive is not getting played, and if it was, I think like heroes like Anna, which I think it still gets a fair amount of play, and she can still bring a lot to the
Mm.
table. Would
Yep.
like rise to the top, or Mercy would be like, okay, this is the kind of like the go to support. But because it's still very brawly, just the amount of utility that BAP brings, plus that increased damage that he has right now, is almost too good to pass up. I would only
Agreed.
recommend going off of BAP if you're going like a super divey or like
If you're
super
playing
spread
divey
out comp.
tanks and you're playing snipers. So I remember I locked BAP in and then on Gibraltar attack, and then my team decided to run Winston Ball and like Hanzo Widow, and I'm Baptiste, and I'm on the ground, and my Widow's behind me, my Hanzo's up there, my tanks are in the back. I'm like, okay, what am I doing this BAP on the
Yeah,
part
there's
here?
no
Might as
way.
well try to play Anna so I can heal them from a distance
Hmm.
and something like that, or play Mercy or something. So yeah, there are situations where BAP would be like less valuable. And then
Hmm.
like that map first point is actually fine for those dive tanks too to kind of sweep
Right.
them off high ground and stuff. So like, you know,
And honestly,
not
they're so close to a really good balance on supports. I think that they really went a little bit overboard with the Baptiste. Honestly, if they had just let him be or leave him the same, I think we'd have a little bit more parity between all of the supports. But right
I'd
now,
still I'd still think a little adjustment to him. I wouldn't say leave him as he was before because like they nerfed Mora and I still think BAP would be meta right now even without the DPS buff. I think what I think Siegel suggested where the healing, because all you do against with Orisa Sigma is just shoot the ground right in front of you. Tung, tung, tung. You just keep healing them to full. So he thought of, if you make direct shots with your healing, it will do the amount you're familiar with. But if it splashes to somebody nearby, it'll do less healing. So there's a bit
mhm.
more skill. Give him the Junkrat treatment where you have to land directs on the healing grenades rather than
Oh, rather than like
just
so no
getting big
splash
splash
damage.
forgiving. Yeah, because it's so forgiving. It's
It is very
ridiculous.
forgiving. Well, right now I think that he's almost taking over the role of Moira. Like right now, Moira
Yeah.
seems
Oh,
to be in
100%.
like a limbo. Like, why would you take Moira when the only thing she can do is like okay healing when you can take
Yep.
Baptiste and do equally as much healing and have all this other utility, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, she's struggling right now, going from like the most pick support in the meta to why would I even consider you kind of thing.
When Batiste is just a better choice. Yep.
Yeah, so
That's the
definitely
state of her.
some thoughts there. That being said though, do you have any other closing thoughts for this patch? Anything that we haven't talked about that you like to see change or that you're enjoying?
No, we covered it all. The Batiste and the support lineup, May being a DPS thing, the double barrier still being present. I guess the only other thing we didn't talk about was maybe Hanzo. I think Hanzo's really good with less shields as well. You spam if you're a good Hanzo. That's why it's Hanzo Mei being the meta because pressure on the shields of storm arrows, good no fall off damage. You just have very long range, and then you have leap, which can just is very good escape and movement ability. Good ultimate with dragon to zone people off.
Yeah, his ultimate can still sort of like contest the point and like put pressure there. Yeah.
Yep. Combo that with Orisa pull, and it's like why play Zarya for a grab every like 2 minutes when you can just have like a grab every 8 seconds with Orisa pull in that kind of sense, yeah.
To kind of give you guys maybe like a closing meta. It seems like everything is sort of going into Sigma, Orisa, Hanzo, Mei, Sigma, Zenyatta. That seems like
Baptiste Zenyatta.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Baptiste Zenyatta. That seems like the golden comp right now. It does require the people who are playing it to sort of cohesively, but it has a ton of synergy. Like most of the ultimates in that composition will combine with each other in one way or another. Like Sigma Mei can be a combo. The pull and the Hanzo ult can be a combo. Supercharger sort of like brings a ton of utility to the whole composition, and you have amplifying matrix too. So you have two things that are boosting the damage of everyone, which makes Baptiste, Zenyatta, and Hanzo incredibly deadly. I mean, it makes everyone in that composition deadly. Sigma can also like become like a heavy hitter
when you're Sigma does a lot of damage. 3 damage like boost. Well, yeah, like you said, supercharger, Baptiste ultimate. Then if you combine it with Discord, it's like,
oh yeah,
everything just melts.
Yeah, right. So a ton of damage output by this composition, a ton of staying power. Mei basically buys you the point for free. If the enemy team is not playing their own Mei and you are, and you're playing for the point, your tanks are going to have such an easier time than their tanks. And you can really set up your tanks for success too by blocking their tanks, separating them, freezing anybody who tries to come in near you. Hanzo breaking the barriers super fast with Zenyatta and Baptiste. Like your 2 supports now become incredibly good damage dealers too that can break those barriers down super fast. So yeah, I think that just in general, that composition is quite good. It's not the only thing you can run at the moment, and I think that there's still gonna be some evolving left to do. I don't think that we've completely settled. What do you think?
Pardon me, repeat that. Just you don't think
do you think that the meta has completely settled at this point and that's what we're going to be running? Or you think there's still going to be some room for sort of like experimenting here?
I think it's already settled. People experiment for the first week, and now it's been a week or 2 weeks now, I think, since
I think 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. People were, I remember the first day of the new patch, people were like, yeah, barrier's dead. And then they were trying out the Rhine Zarya and then all that kind of stuff and random dive heroes, but it's settled now. And it's pretty much confirmed that it's Orisa Sigma still the best. A bit more Rhine variation and a bit of ball, but for the most part, the heroes you listed out are going to be the go-tos with minor adjustments depending on the map and enemy comps. People decide not to run meta. That's about it.
All right, boys. If you guys haven't learned Baptiste or Mei, now is the time.
Yes, for sure. Learn them.
Awesome. Alrighty, why don't you let everybody know where people can find you, maybe your channels, and where you're going to be up to for the next year?
Yeah, sure. Well, like from the beginning, from the introduction, I make those tip videos, tips versus every hero, mistakes versus every hero, tips and tricks for Overwatch. It's kind of my thing that I've been doing for a little while. Kind of like my identity as being on YouTube.
Content creator.
For the Overwatch, for the Overwatch community. So you can find me on YouTube under the name KarQ Games, or you just search up KarQ Tips or KarQ or whatever, you'll find me. And on Twitch, twitch.tv/KarQ, I stream myself playing support 95% of the time. Play a lot of Baptiste and Zen at a relatively high level, so you can check me out there. And that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming, KarQ. Let's close out the show real quick. Very special thanks to all of our diamond sponsors, Shazir, Shepard, Chris the Player, Cypher, And to our new patrons joining us this week as well, Luke H. and Jefferson V. You guys are super, super awesome. We also have an iTunes review from Justin A. Dream from the USA. He says, if you need tips or strategies or even the latest news on Overwatch, this is the perfect podcast. Their tips and heroes got me from a stuck player in plat to high diamond. It seems crazy, but these guys are very smart. Much love from Austria. Actually, from Austria. Oh, very, very nice. Thank you very much, Justin. Glad the information is helping you. That's what we're all about. If you want to find the show, you can do so over at omniclab.com. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and all your other podcasting apps of choice. You can join our Discord at discord.me/omniclab. That's where we host all of our community events. If you guys want to be part of game nights, which is actually happening next week, make sure to join the Discord and come hang out with us. It's super, super fun. We have players of all levels, and generally they go all night long into the wee hours of the night. So we have some cool events happening there. There's room for everyone. I think that a lot of people have made a lot of friends and have actually found people to play with on game nights, aside from, getting to know other people that enjoy the same things that you do. You can email the show over at omniclabpodcast@gmail.com. And you can personally find me over on Twitter at iPlayGames. You spell that IPLAI Games. I think that'll do it for today. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And like Rob would say, don't be a lab rat, be a scientist. All right. Oh, no. I don't have my outro song. All right, guys. That'll do it for today. Thanks so much.